Okay, guys, today on World War III Watch, we're going to look back at the mineral deal and what has come out of that. We've been covering this story for you guys. How does this quote unquote anti-war president Trump, how has he maneuvered through these 100 days? As far as one of his promises, as you guys remember, he's going to end the Ukraine war in 24 hours. Clearly, that was never going to happen. That's just, those are just a flashy theater one-liners that he's very good at doing, and he was very good at doing to his base. But more than that, it's not so much that it's taking longer than 24 hours. It looks like it's been going in the opposite direction. Let's take a look at this story that has given us what is coming from the mineral deal that he closed, basically trying to save face on the money that we have wasted. The upward transfer of wealth of billions of dollars that have gone into the pockets of warmongers through the Joe Biden administration for a proxy war that has no real purpose other than on the surface, it's to cripple Russia and stick it to Putin. But at the end of the day, all we've done is destroyed the energy systems of Europe. We've destroyed Europe's economy. We've destroyed our economy in the process. And of course, Putin was never going to lose this thing. From the beginning, we knew that. Everybody knew that, but the American people didn't really know that because they were tricked again. They were the manufacturing of consent that we were doing this for democracy. Blah 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 blah. So, anyways, looking at the mineral deal, it seems that now, after the deal closed last week, the U.S. is now preparing to authorize weapons sale to Ukraine following the minerals deal. So wait, what is this? I'm sorry. Trump is going to be giving more money for weapons? Yeah, it's the first time the Trump administration has approved a defense. I love it, defense. You mean weapons to kill people? Okay, a defense related sale to Ukraine. That's not good. On the heel of the new rare minerals deal between the U.S. and Ukraine, word is coming of another deal between the two countries, this one involving the sale of weapons to Ukraine. It's the first time the Trump administration has approved a defense-related sale to Ukraine. Congressional records show a notice from the U.S. State Department to Congress under the Arms Export Control Act. It's called Executive Communication 859, and it lists a $50 million or more sale to Ukraine of what it calls defense services. This is really bizarre because it seems that Trump is following literally in the footsteps of Joe Biden with the weapons deals with Zelensky, back to the same old. How can this be possibly be leading to a peace deal with Putin? We know that's been stalling out. We know that Marco Rubio has done a horrible job at negotiating this deal, which is completely at a stalemate. It's been in a stalemate for weeks. Well, let's see where we are with that. According to RT, U.S. clarifies stance on Ukraine peace talks. Washington has denied that it is walking away from negotiations. Really? Okay. So we're not walking away. The U.S. will not abandon its efforts to help broker peace between Russia and Ukraine. Rubio said on Friday, after a State Department statement suggested that the U.S. could pull out of negotiations. So this is a little damage control, Rubio. He's saying Rubio's warning that if the talks remain stalled, the U.S. might move on. So he's threatening to move on, but we haven't actually technically done it yet. So he just wants to clarify, we haven't walked away, but we're ready to walk away. So he says, if there is no progress between the two parties, we would step back as a mediator. And that's the spokeswoman, Tammy Bruce, on behalf of Marco Rubio, telling reporters at a news briefing earlier. That doesn't sound good. Speaking to Sean Hannity, Rubio said, we're not going to give up on it in the sense that we're not going to be ready to help if we can. He added in the final call is up to U.S. President Trump. At some point in time, it either has to be something that can happen or we all need to move on. Okay, so he's basically saying, let's get on with this. Let's not waste any more time. Yeah, isn't that funny how we just don't have time to waste on stopping the planet from nuclear annihilation? We have other things we need to do besides that. That's an interesting priority list there, Rubio. He stressed in the conflict which escalated under the administration. Yeah. Oh, by the way, it was the previous administration that did it, so it's not our problem. And that's literally what he's saying. It is not our war. And said the U.S. now considers its confrontation with China and Iran's nuclear program higher priorities. Because, we didn't start. It's not our deal, man. We had nothing to do with that. So, you know what? Never mind. Just let it ride out. Okay, let it ride out. Well, Trump, then I guess it's on you. You got to take the lead on this. How are you responding to Rubio saying, it's your call, dude. I'm kind of done with this. What are you going to say about this, Trump?
Russia have to give up, because Ukraine, there's been discussions they will have to give up some of the land.
Russia will have to give up all of Ukraine, because that's what they want.
All of Ukraine, meaning they wouldn't keep any of the land that they've claimed?
Russia would have to give up all of Ukraine, because what Russia wants is all of Ukraine.
That's not true. Russia does not want all of Ukraine, you idiot. And I know Democrats aren't going to push back on this because they were also told that lie. So you are regurgitating everything that Biden did, his entire presidency. You're going to brag about how you're the only one who can get this thing done, and then you're going to say the same shit that we've been hearing all through the last 2.5, 3 years from Biden. We've been hearing, oh, Putin wants to take over the Europe. If he gets Ukraine, he's not going to stop. He's going to keep going. He woke up one day. Putin woke up one day and decided he wanted to be the next Hitler in February 2022. He just decided. So this is not true. I think it's not true. I think that you have to say this in order to defend the fact that you don't want to negotiate anymore. So you have to put it on Putin and make it like, hey, look, man, you're going to have to give all of it up. Look, we had a deal in place. It was called the Minsk Agreement. Ukraine was never supposed to join NATO, and Zelensky was bombing all his own people. He was annihilating his own people in the Donbass, Ukraine citizens with Russian descent, and Putin had enough of it. He said, "Stop doing this. What are you doing?" He was interested in the biolabs that were being built there by the previous administration. So all of these elements led to Putin saying, I'm giving you one last warning. If you don't take the deal, which is we leave it alone, you stop what you're doing, no more threatening to join NATO, no more threatening nuclear weapons on the border of my freaking country, or I'm going to start moving in. Okay? Once he moves in, then that's it. Then you have to make that deal. Say, okay, don't do anymore. We get it. Okay, stop. You can't undo the thing that's already been done. You had your chance. That's Putin's stance. We know it. However, at the same time, he doesn't want all of Ukraine. You know that. Stop lying to meet the press. And they're not even going to push back. This is what's so hard to watch this, is that the mainstream media is not going to push back on Trump and say, actually, Putin doesn't want all of Ukraine. So they're just going to let him say it.
And if I didn't get involved, they would be fighting right now for all of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Russia doesn't want the strip that they have now. Russia wants all of Ukraine. And if it weren't me, they would keep going. Do you know that the European Union leaders have asked me to call Putin so many times because he doesn't return their phone call?
Wow. Same old. I'm the only one that can do it. I'm the best. I'm the best at this. I mean, it's just, you're not going to see any pushback about this. Let's look at what is Rubio and what are they really saying when they say it's not our deal. It was Biden's deal. Putin's just going to have to give up everything, or we're just going to keep giving weapons. We're just going to keep, now that we made the mineral deal, now we can keep these arms deals going with Zelensky and keep giving them funds, because now we have a new excuse because we made a few bucks on this mineral deal. Now we can afford some more weapons deals. It's the same thing Biden did, but a little more business savvy, because we got a few bang for our buck now. Where Biden was just giving it away like a water hose. You just turn on, you just let money just flow freely. So in this sense, it's more of a business savvy deal where we're getting money from the mineral deal, but you're just going to keep throwing it in there, and you're not going to pay too much attention to ending this thing right now. You're just going to walk away. Why? Because you're focused on what? Iran and China. That's where the focus is. Well, just like clockwork, your little outlets that used to be good on something, good at calling out establishment propaganda, once in a while got it right, or getting it completely wrong right now. So I'm gonna look. Let's bring up this New York Post article that is deliberately trying to package China as our enemy and making this our number one threat, if not number one and two, because you have Iran. So you got this double duty going right now. And all of the outlets are doing this that would even be considered populist organizations that were right wing. They're all pushing war right now. And there's just nobody on the left that's pushing back on this. I wish somebody would set this straight, but here we go. This is the New York Post article. We covered this on with Craig Pasta on Truthwire, and I just wanted to bring it up again on our show in case you guys missed this. So this is the propaganda from New York Post. Despite their denials, China is losing the tariffs war and retreating as fast as it can. So right away in the title, that's not true. They're not losing the tariff war. President Trump brings manufacturing back to the U.S. Okay, so you're already starting off with a lie. He's not bringing it back. He wants to, but it's not actually happening. So just to say as he's doing it, he's not doing it. He's attempting to do it. Doesn't look like it's working. He closes in on the trade deals with India, Japan, and South Korea. China says as the world's factory floor are numbered, and Beijing is furious. Oh, I bet they're so furious. No, China's doing fine. Just so you guys know, China's doing just fine. Similar to how Russia's doing fine when we said we're going to stick it to Putin. It's the same. This is the same method the Democrats use to make Putin the enemy. Republicans are doing it now with China. That's what they're doing. So China's foreign ministry even released a video claiming that China won't kneel down to the U.S., warning that bowing to U.S. hegemony would be like drinking poison. Yeah, they're not going to bow down. That part is probably true. The BRICS meeting in Rio, Foreign Minister Wang Yi talked tough as well. Silence or retreat will only embolden bullies. Yeah, I agree with that. Coming down here, Trump divulged in a Time magazine interview April 25th that China's Xi Jinping contacted him directly about tariffs and later affirmed that he has since spoken with the Chinese dictator many times. Turns out none of that is true. There are all this pushback saying that Trump didn't actually have any contact with Xi Jinping. Nobody is confirming that on the other side of this. So this is weird that he's just kind of making this up, but it doesn't. It kind of fits his behavior. Sometimes Trump just says whatever hell he wants to say, and it's just not. It's just not grounded in reality, and they're calling it fake news. Any suggestion otherwise is groundless and fake news, said Gu, who urged the U.S. to stop misleading the public. Now, the New York Post is trying to pretend that China is the one that's making this up, and they're standing 100% with Trump on this in this article. Chinese have been told that not only did their stalwart leader alone among all world leaders match Trump's tariffs with his own, but that he has stood strong and never, ever backed down. Think of how much face Xi Jinping will lose when the Chinese people learn that he, after grandstanding on tariffs, has caved. He hasn't caved. Okay, he hasn't. And they're ending this with the signs of China's impending economic collapse is everywhere. No, it's not. They're 100% wrong. This is fear-mongering, disinformation, as we'll borrow the term disinformation. But again, this is about manufacturing consent and having American people overall not look into this. But we know the younger generation. We know that the Gen Zs, they've already looked into this. They're already having communications with China. We know that China has a very empathetic approach to engaging with American citizens, which is very, cool to see. Very cool to see them trying to help with the back and forth education process about having empathy with what experience did you have growing up? What experiences, what kind of education are you getting from your government, from your oligarchy? How do you respond to that education? It's not to say that China doesn't have its own propaganda in place from its government and its education, but it just seems overall Chinese people are a little more aware, a little more self-aware, a little more conditioned to challenge and question things and look at full pictures. And they are curious enough to engage with us, whether it's on their platform Red Note, which a lot of Gen Zs, as you guys know, flock to when the threat of shutting down Twitter happened, saying that it's because of China influence, when it was really because of Israel influence. It was really because of Israel influence. But there was this ironic element to the Gen Z saying, well, if you're going to blame this on China, then we're going to go to China. And as soon as they did that, they started having communications on their platform. And we've seen it all. We've covered it all on the show, guys. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now with you, but just understand there's a reason that you got to have these packaged stories coming at you from all directions right now, because it's called damage control. They have to put out the fire of the younger generation of American citizens communicating with Chinese citizens, using the palm of their hands to do so, and understanding that the entire thing's been a lie. I will leave you with this on World War III watch. If there's one thing we can take from all of this hype and propaganda and China versus US and Republican versus Democrat and Trump with his hardcore tariff approach versus let's sit back and chill out approach, however you look at it, no matter who's been president in our entire lifetimes, we've been part of an empire whose number one position in the world, number one priority, has been invading and occupying and bombing and intimidating and murdering and stealing from other countries. NATO doesn't fight on its own soil. It never does. America doesn't fight on its own soil. It invades. And it spends its taxpayer money invading. It spends all of its energy and focus invading. And the results of that is our broken economy right now. We would still be the number one economy in the world if we had done what China did, which is not invade any country at all. They don't do that. They spend their money on infrastructure, on education, on aligning their citizens with opportunities for whatever it is that they want to surround their worlds with. And again, I'm not saying they don't have their own propaganda, but the point is Chinese people are very aware and self-aware, and they understand that they have to use their critical thinking skills. So that's all we can do. They've urged us to do that. Demand better from our leadership. Don't let them play this game anymore with us, that we've done nothing wrong and all these other countries want to come after us. No, they actually want to help us. They actually feel bad for us. We should try this sometime. We should try having some empathy and try being curious, like Chinese citizens seem to be. So that's why we're getting the pushback now. So we're going to keep our eye on this. And again, it's infuriating that there's not enough outlets like ours and all the ones we're surrounded with that are telling the story from this vantage point, from the non-tribal point of view. But they're going to continue to keep us in our tribes and mad at the wrong things and afraid of our neighbor and afraid of other countries, afraid, whether it's afraid of Russia, afraid of China, or afraid of Iran. They're going to keep us in these little camps. So let's just be more aware, self-aware of ourselves, and be a little more curious about how we go about going into any of these topics and figuring out what's really going on. So we'll continue this conversation with you. That's World War III Watch.